As you guys can see here, I have just got the Arcane Rapier. It is a white bag from the new Ancient Ruins dungeon. The question is, does it suck? Hello guys, Hyeperion here, back with another video. This is my first episode of the Does It Suck series. Along with my normal reviews, I will occasionally do this one for items or even characters that spark debate or confusion. So for the first episode, we are going to be taking a look at this sword. As far as drop rates go, I wouldn't call this very rare. It's probably as common as a snake pit white, although it took me 55 attempts to get this, while loot boosted on top of that. The dungeon is not that hard to find either, spawning from highlands mobs which are easily found. There are also treasure rooms in this dungeon that also drop the white bag. I'd say it's a 1 in 3 chance of finding a treasure room, and there are a lot of cases where you find 2 treasure rooms. I'm not sure if there's 3 or more, but I've come across a lot of runs with 2 treasure rooms, so overall this item is quite an easy farm. What does it do? A normal sword simply shoots straight. This sword shoots further. Then the shots boomerang back to the player. A bonus thing it does is it hits multiple targets, so it pierces enemies. Sounds cool, right? The drawback is that it deals less damage per shot, and by less I mean quite a lot. Let's hop over to the DPS calculator. Wow, it is on the bottom of the graph, even beaten out by the crystal sword. That is very low. That's the lowest of all relevant swords. If we're talking tiered items, it's between the tier 7 and tier 8 sword in DPS. With the boomerang effect, you can hit targets easier while moving. For example, moving with enemies. If you shoot too far ahead, the returning shot can hit the enemy afterwards. I mean, you can think of it like this. Your sword shoots normally. Then he gives bonus coverage with the returning shot. If you put it up in speed and move forward, the shots actually fall behind you by a little more than 2 tiles. This is nice for rushing Godlands dungeons, hitting enemies in front of you and letting your stray shots handle enemies behind you. The faster you are, the further back the stray shots go. The piercing trait this sword has is great. That means when you're fighting a boss behind minions, you still hit the boss. Another thing to take note is as soon as you hit 2 enemies with 1 shot, that's pretty much double DPS. Hit 3 enemies, that's triple DPS. Combined with the additional coverage with the boomerang shots, this thing shreds minions. Where would this sword be good? Godlands, as you can easily take on gods with the bonus range, and in a lot of cases you do hit more than one god. It's great in Godlands dungeons too, where a lot of bosses have minions that are in the way, like the Undead Lair or the Abyss of Demons. I'd even say it's nice for Oryx 3, as having more range really lets you hit the boss more often, especially with the boomerang shots. One place I like using this item is when rushing the Abyss of Demons. The piercing with the trailing shots makes the rush take no effort. So, does it suck? It has the worst DPS of all relevant swords. The feed power is not impressive, being only 600, but it is very easy to land shots with. It has boosted range and pierces, making your DPS very consistent and reliable. It shines in a lot of situations with the additional range and pierce. It's also quite easy to get. The Indomitable is a superior piercing sword, but it's much rarer. In fact, all the ranged swords are much less farmable than this sword. The fame bonus is alright, being 5%. Final verdict? It does not suck. Just because there are better swords doesn't mean this is worse. Keep accessibility and considering players of all skill levels a thing in mind too. Is it worth farming for? I'd say it is. Even if you're a veteran player, you can have this sword and bring it to some endgame dungeons like Oryx 3 if you're not confident. And for beginners, this is great for melee classes, helping you hit those mobs easier.